Hey folks, Coach Patrick here, back with another Coach Podcast video cast update. Right now, end of the year is coming up, and I feel like I want to clarify a few things for you. It really sort of evolves around one theme, which is the end is the beginning is the end. I think that the end of the year is always an interesting time. It's sort of an arbitrary place for us to put a marker and say, this is what I've done. And from here on out, this is what I'm going to do. What's really interesting to me as a coach is to watch athletes go through that same cycle. Athletes who will sort of, put a full stop and then start again, versus athletes who are just sort of always going. And I think I want to dispel some of the rumors around those athletes who are always going, as sort of being the athletes who, are just sort of swept up in the sport and can't get a grip on themselves relative to reality, relative to other responsibilities. And then the athletes who are more likely to sort of put markers and bookmarks, stamps and times, lines, barriers, whatever you want to call them, around their training. When I think about what it means to come to the end of the season, it's an opportunity. It's a socially accepted opportunity for us to reflect. However, that is a skill which you as an athlete, as a competitive athlete, as someone who's looking to be your personal best, has to have in your arsenal at all times. If I sat down with you and said, it's Wednesday, let's reflect on the last week, let's reflect on the last month, you should be able to do that. You should be able to give some stats. You should be able to speak to the things that went well and the things that didn't go well, the things that you want to change, right? Sort of those three key baseline factors. This is not something we want to do just once a year. If we only just do it once a year, we kind of suck at it. You know what I mean? Right? Like if I only, I don't know, if I only put the, bike rack on the back of my car once a year, and then I take it off, 9 months later, and then I come back and do it again. The time between putting it on and then remembering what I have to do to put it on and what I did wrong last time and why it didn't work and why the key and the toolie rack needs to be exactly the right space and where is the key to the toolie rack and why is it not going into the hitch of the car? Was there an adapter? I can't remember. All of that, the timeline between those 2 points is so great that my learning curve is completely flat. Is it trending upward? Well, I'll give myself the benefit of the doubt. This is my show after all, but it's really imperceptible relative to the speed at which I expect change from all other aspects of my life. And so similarly speaking, when we get to the end of the season, we start to reflect. I want you to just stop for a second and just say, hey, let's reflect on reflection. Let's figure out how many times this past year have you actually stopped and looked back and said, what worked, what didn't work? My guess is you, like 80% of the athletes I encounter who are out there, simply just don't do it. You're constantly forward focused. What's the next task? What's the next workout? What's the next thing I'm going to do? Which is fine, but it's really hard to improve if we don't know or don't have a good handle on all the things that actually make us better, all the things that help us improve, all the areas where we have strengths, where we have weaknesses, where we have gaps that we want to fill. Right. And so understanding that comes through reflection. And the way that we sort of capture that reflection, the way I recommend doing it with the athletes that I work with, both on the team here and the ones that I consult with, is capturing these items and writing them down. Inside Nurse Nation, all of our training plans have a Sunday recap where I encourage you to reach out to me, to write to me inside our coaching space so we can have a conversation about the past week and figure out what worked, what didn't work. But also a monthly recap as well, where people can submit input to me. It's a trigger for me to look at not only your data, but your subjective feedback. And then we reiterate, we chart a new path. This is something that's built into the system and how we coach here inside Nurse Nation. And I encourage you, the audience members here, to also start thinking about this as well. Get that weekly summary going. You don't have to go back and look at it now. Just build the habit of capturing what worked, what didn't work for the weeks. Make it on Sunday nights. Have a little alarm, 7 o'clock, 7:30, 8 o'clock. What are you really doing at 7 on a Sunday night? Just sit down for 5-10 minutes, look over your training log, look over your Strava, what was good, what wasn't good, and why. Just write down your thoughts. Just give yourself one piece of paper and a notebook, and then come back and do it next week. Come back next week. After 3 or 4 months, you're going to have 12, 16 individual pieces of paper in there that you can go back and look at. You can read through, and now this is the fun part. You get to start highlighting stuff, underlining stuff, starring, marking, capturing, doodling, whatever it is that you do to show the trends that you're seeing from your feedback, not from the data, not your chronic training load or your acute training load or your power curve, your PDC, anything like that. Specifically, what was working for you and what's not working for you, and what is the rationale you've given yourself. It may not be the answer, right? It could just be part of the equation. But if you've been struggling with something, more often than not, we don't know about it as coach athlete, or you as athlete, self-coach athlete. We don't know about it until it becomes a big problem. And the reason why we don't know about it is because we have not finally attuned ourselves to that process of reflection, and capturing that information. So as we come to the socially accepted end of the year, I encourage you to participate in this reflection and look back on 2020, and do whatever you need to do to put a bow on it. But at the same time, take a minute to build a process that you can use going forward. Get a journal, get a book. Here, those of you on the video with me today on the YouTube channel, youtube.com/Endurance Nation, you can buy tons of this is a tiny little adorable notebook here that you can put your stuff into. I have like 10 of these going back to when I first started really training when I was in Central Asia in the Peace Corps after I got out of college. And it's amazing to me how many of the things and challenges that I encountered back then are similar now. We believe that we train as if we're forever in the moment, and that we're everything that happens to us is new. But in reality, the same habits we see are the same issues that seem to be always happening with our friends. With Jimmy, like Jimmy's injured again, or like Susie, messed up her nutrition again, or Ricky, his kids are going crazy again. The stuff we see happen all the time for ourselves, we don't see it. We don't have that perspective. That's why reflection is your friend. It's an opportunity to capture, to get outside of your current head. Just take a quick look back, short microbursts. And then when you get to the end of the year, like we are now, you can look back and you'll have up to somewhere in the neighborhood of 50-ish, will give you benefit of the doubt, individual pages that you can look through and see what worked and what didn't work. And that is the key to unlocking areas of opportunity for you, to finding out things that you were really excited about, the opportunities that you didn't explore that you want to go back and look at again. That, my friends, is how you begin the process of iteration. So as you think about being successful, don't chart just a 5-year plan. I think a lot of times this time of year, people will say, I'm going to build a 5-year plan. In 5 years, in 2025, I'm going to be doing X, or 2027, or whatever it is, I'm going to do X or Y. And that's fine. Like, we've all got to have goals. I understand that. But you really can't decide where you're going to go until you have a really good grasp on where you are. So rather than set into motion this goal that doesn't have any really sort of tangible steps between now and then, unless you're like a psychopath planner, which is also fine, set in motion the process of capturing how you're doing. Very short exercise, very simple, as I've mentioned. That process will become incrementally more powerful for you over time. That information compounds. Your knowledge and skills will compound, and they will improve over time, such that by the time you end that first year, you're twice as smart as you were, or 3 times as smart as you were when you started, because you've been iterating faster through this reflection process. And then we multiply that year over year over year. All you're effectively doing is reaching out and grabbing that goal. We're going to bring it forward. We're going to bring it, you're going to move it from 2025. It'll probably be 2023 by the time you achieve it, because you're iterating faster now. Not because you're eating supplements, not because you bought some fancy technology or some new equipment or something like that, but because you're actually paying attention, taking that log and checking in on yourself. So as we enter this socially accepted time of year for reflection, please do the right thing. Focus inwardly on your athletic self. Take a moment. It's okay. You can be a little bit selfish here for a minute. Get that journal, start the process, set the reminder on your smartphone. Hey, every Sunday night at 7 p.m., remind me, or play that chime or play that song, and just give yourself a couple minutes to jot it down. You'll be surprised by what you write. I'd love to hear from you here. You can put some notes to us on Facebook, on the Endurance Nation page on Facebook, or go to any endurancenation.us page and leave stuff down the bottom in the chat box. Let me know how it's going for you. I'll be doing the same thing. It's just a really powerful habit, and it's something that allows us to improve faster and to become better, knowledgeable about ourselves, our weaknesses, and our strengths. That can only make us better athletes, and honestly, at some level, better humans overall. All right, I'm down. If you're down, I'm super excited. Speaking of excited, while I still have you, just a reminder, we do have a new free resource project on Endurance Nation at endurancenation.us. Sometimes you'll see the banner across the top, or you can go to the free resources section. Every 2 weeks, I'll be putting out a new workshop. Every 2 months, I'm putting out a new workshop. For a total of 6 workshops combined together will become a course that people will be able to learn from about becoming a better self-coached athlete. As I go through each of those processes, they're live and they're free to you, and you can download them for free for about 2 weeks, and then they're back into your archives until the next session comes along. You have to get it while it's there, and you want to make sure you're paying attention to our Facebook page for the events that are coming up, but also on the Endurance Nation page. If you go over there to endurancenation.us, you can sign up for our newsletter, and I'll send you invitations and everything you need to know straight from there. All right. Thanks so much for being a part of Endurance Nation this year in 2020. It's been quite a journey, but we are just about halfway there, I want to say. We're at the turnaround point. Like I said in my newsletter this week, it's been a long journey. We've done a lot of work. And those of you who've done those long runs and those long rides, you know exactly what it is when I say we're at the halfway point. You knew you were going to go this far for this duration. We're turning around. We're stopping for a minute. We're going to take a breath, have a snack, take a look at each other, get back to work. And like I always say, last one there, you're buying the beer. I'll see you guys in 2021. Have a fantastic end of the year. And I look forward to helping you build new fitness and new processes and new means to being successful in 2021. See you guys.